My name's Charlotte, I'm an addict. Barada. Actually, I'm a recovered addict. It tells me in the book I'm recovered. I am a recovered addict. I haven't obsessed over a substance. I haven't obsessed over drink or drugs I looked at it just now and I forgot. I think it's 2,367 days, And from the age of 12 to 36, that wasn't the case, and I had no idea what was wrong with me. I'm just going to get into it. I'm just going to start by saying, because this is a really important piece of information, I'm 43, and I was told by a doctor I'd be dead by the time I was 40, and here I am. So that's the first miracle. And second, actually, I haven't obsessed over alcohol or drugs since I found Cocaine Anonymous. So I'll just tell you a bit about myself. So I'm from Wales. This is the Welsh flag. I was born in Cardiff 43 years ago, and I was brought up in a chaotic family. Life was mental. I was brought up surrounded by fear, real fear, not the fear that I make up in my head, real fear. So I knew what that was. But I also had other fear, like I was really self-conscious. I worry what people think about me, chronic self-conscious. And I picked up my first drink I remember my first drink when I was around about 12, and I remember that fear, that not real fear was lifted. And just quickly back to my childhood, that's not why I'm an addict. I just want everyone to know that. I thought that, and I blamed that until I did a step 4. But I thought it was my trauma. But I have a sister who was brought up in the same house as me. And I bought her a cocktail for her birthday. It was £16 for the cocktail, by the way. And I went in a bedroom the next morning in this hotel, and the cocktail, she'd had a sip of it, she didn't really like it, and she'd left it there. She don't suffer with what I suffer with. Definitely not. That is not my story. So I had a drink at 12, and I remember how it made me feel. I still remember to this day at 43, just warm, comfortable. I had no idea, but I knew at a young age that I wanted to be part of everyone else's family. That's always been the case. I've never felt I belonged anywhere. When I was 40, I wanted my sponsor to adopt me and move me in her house. I just want to be part of her family because, I just don't want to, that's how I feel. I also engage in criminal activities, and I was thinking about that yesterday. My criminal activities, 90% of them are drug and alcohol fueled. They're to get money, they're drunken stuff, But my first arrest was on my 12th birthday. Like, I was a little girl, on my 12th birthday. My last arrest was my 36th birthday, and there was many in between. And during that time, I would wake up in police cells, and I always think about, Cocaine Anonymous, maybe I should do some more, and what if you guys, somebody came in that police cell one morning, when I woke up, and I'm like, no, what happened last night? And I've had a fight with a taxi driver, or I've had a fight with a police officer. But when I used to go into the police cells, I don't really remember a lot of it, but I'd come around the next morning and I'd be like, morning, like a different person, and I kind of thought I was bipolar. I knew something was wrong with me, but I didn't know what. But so back to when I was a child, and Caroline shares, I found this diary a couple of weeks ago. I was sorting through my shed, and it was wrapped in loads of sellotape, and I was like, that's weird. And I cut the sellotape off, and I opened it, and it was when I was 15. And in there, I'd woken up in the morning. I'd written it. It's quite a graphic diary, but I'd woken up with a lump on my head and 2 black eyes, and that was quite a normal morning for me, And in there, it says, I really need help. I don't know where to go. I feel a bit emotional, sorry. And I didn't know what was wrong with me at 15, and I carried on going until I was 36, until you guys found me in an institution, because that's where people like me end up, in institutions. But this is not a sob story. I've had quite a mad life. So basically, I used alcohol, I used weed, every time I took something, I kind of knew. I used to call myself an opportunist with an addictive personality. Don't know if there's anyone else in there with that. But That's what I used to call myself, because if I saw something to steal, I would just take it. But I had like a moral code, which is like my own rules that I make up. And I wouldn't steal off people until I could rationalize it. So like I wouldn't steal somebody's wallet. I wouldn't steal anything until I did. And then I'd go, but he did this to me. You know, so suddenly everything that I said I would never do, my mind makes up its own rules and just does stuff. But yeah, and I ended up robbing the government. I've ended up, you know, credit card fraud. I've ended up, yeah, with a quite big criminal record. So at 16, I left my mum's house to go and sort my life out. And sorting my life out, what did that look like? I moved in with a guy. I think it was about 16, 17. I moved in with an older guy, and he used to take painkillers, opiate painkillers, take speed. He didn't take them. He was on the sick. He didn't take them, but he used to get them prescribed. But I remember that the first time that I took opiates, and I had the same feeling the first time I took the alcohol, the first time I took anything. It fills that void inside of me, you know. And in the book, Bill says, I have arrived. You know, and that feeling that I have when I first take something, I have arrived. So I took his opiates for him, and I liked them. I liked the way they made me feel. And I stayed in that relationship, and that was the most stable I've ever been. In the book it says I didn't have a sober breath for 7 years, but I was stable in that relationship. And every day I didn't work. I lived with him. His rent was paid. I didn't need to. And we used to just smoke weed. Oh, when I was 16 as well, so you know I said I started drinking at 12? By the time I got to 16, drinking from a bottle was not enough. I used to drink funnels. I used to hold a funnel there, and I needed it in me fast. So I used to, I used to just hold this, people would fill up the funnel, and then I'd open my throat and let it go in and hope it'd stay there. And that's how I drank. Then with the weed, a spliff, it's not enough for me. I need buckets. I need in me, like a lot, quickly. So I kind of knew that. So, but I met this guy, and everything was kind of stable because I would just stay with him, and I would take speed, and I would then I'd have a spliff to bring me down, and it was just up, down, you know, and it was okay. Everything was all right. And I decided the one day that I wanted something more from life. I knew there was something more. My mental health was suffering a little bit. I was struggling to go to the shop. I was hiding in bushes. It was getting a bit weird. So I decided that it was his fault, and I'm going to leave him. There's loads of this. It's his fault. I'm going to leave him, and I'm going to go and sort my life out. And for 2 weeks, I didn't have anywhere to live, but I went and just sofa surfed for a bit. And for 2 weeks, I went to the gym. Everyone was saying I look really good. And but suddenly it was like I got on a roller coaster. I didn't have this relationship anymore to hold me, and maybe it was kind of holding me. I have no idea, but I just went downhill really quickly, and I ended up homeless. I ended up in hostels. Bad things were happening, and life was really bad. And I got really unwell. I was going in toilets in the morning, like pub toilets, to wash and stuff, and life got really bad. So what I decided to do, I was going to sort my life out. And I kind of thought, because of the area I was from, a council estate, and I had no money, and I thought it was all that. I needed a better job. I needed to move to a better area. I needed all this stuff. But at that time, I got told, this is when I got told, I think I was 25, 26, I got told that I collapsed, and I got taken into hospital, and they said that my liver was in a bad way. And I thought that it was the speed. Speed's quite dirty, and I thought it's the speed. And I'd found 4 cans of cider on the floor, and I'd drunk them, and I didn't really drink cider, and I thought it's the cider. And it's where I live. I need to get a job. I need to do some stuff. So what I did at that time, I did 26, 27 days without any substance. And I did it. And I clung on to that for years, by the way, going, I can't be an alcoholic, can't be an addict, because I did that. But I did it. And it says in the book, fear sobered me. I got told my vital organs are not good. I'm going to be dead at 40. It's scary stuff. But it's not enough to stop me. So I did 20 odd days, and then I went back to the doctor, and they tested my liver, and they said that it regenerated. But if I carried on doing what I was doing, I'm going to be dead at 40. So what I decided was, this is where I'm going to sort it out. I'm going to sort this problem out. And the problem was everything external. So I got myself a job in addiction, a really good job, actually. I got myself a better place to live. I lived in a posher area, and I did all this stuff. And what happened was, and I met a boyfriend who was a cocaine dealer as well. That's a good thing. Yeah, I forgot about that. A bit of information. Yeah, that was really handy. So this is the other thing. When I used to meet people, something that I knew about myself, and I was quite aware, was when I met people, I only kept them in my life if I could get something from them. So if I went on a date with somebody and I'm like not interested, I'm like, yeah, I'm never going to see him again. But if he said something like, oh, my last girlfriend, she stole bloody 10 grand, or I pay her 10 grand to get rid of her, or I thought, he got money, and then I say, I'll see him again and I'll see what I can get, and that kind of like, people in my life was if I could get something. So, so I met this guy, and he was a cocaine dealer, and I had cocaine for free. And it was the first time I'd ever tried it, and I was 27, I was quite late, but what I thought was, if I have cocaine, it's cleaner than speed. So, and the speed is like rotting my vital organs, and that's what I kind of thought. So, I was with this boyfriend, and what comes with a cocaine dealer, was violence, was fighting, with the lifestyle. But we started growing drugs together to make some money, and I was renting different places. But then I thought, I found it really hard to leave the relationship because we had all this stuff together, and I was scared that I would get caught and go to prison and stuff. So what I did, I just created situations, because I used to do that, create fights so I could go away and do my own thing. But I created a situation to get rid of him and keep all the drugs and all the stuff for myself, and then I could just grow it all for me. So I did that. So by this time as well, I decided I was going to I had this good job as well. So I was started this really good job, and everything in my life from the outside looked okay. The boyfriend had gone, I had this really good job. But what started happening was, because I knew this, there's no point in getting one of anything, because it's not enough for me. When I start, I need more. So when I was going to the pubs, obviously I was waiting for the pubs to open. I was sitting on the wall waiting for the pub to open on a Saturday, Sunday, and I'd see a lady walk past with her bottles clanging. I'd be like, she's a pisshead, and then I'd be waiting for the pub to open, and I was really judgy. I got like heroin addicts in my family, and like this smackheads, I'd see people, I'd be like, yeah, smackhead, pisshead. But I'm waiting for the pub to open, and I was like, I will never be that woman. Anyway, roll forward, it wasn't even a year probably, and I am that woman. I'm not going out to pubs, and I'm not going out because I get too drunk, and it's too embarrassing. They were putting like stuff on, like Vaseline or something on the back of the toilets. I couldn't sniff properly. So I decided I was just going to stay in my house and use, and it was so much better, so much more peaceful for me. So what I used to do is just like party for one. And I remember going to the shop, and I'd go to the shop and I'd be like, right, I'm just going to get like a bottle. And I'd be like, it's pointless. So I'd be like, do you know what? I'll get 3 big bottles of Stella and a bottle. And I'd be like, do you know what? I may as well get like a cherry brandy bottle. And in the end, I got like all this booze, and I'd get to the till and they'd be like, oh, you having a party? And I'd be like, yeah. But, but like, it's just me. But I remember like that excitement, anticipation. Then I'd get some Coke, and then I'd just stay in my house and I would go for it. And it was, I absolutely loved it. And I really did, and I loved it. And then I'd come around, and it would be even better if there was stuff left. I'd be like, yes. And I would just keep going, and I would do that quite a lot. But what started happening was my mental health was declining, and my physical health was declining. I stopped going to work on Mondays, stopped going to work on Tuesdays, and then my works were concerned, and then everyone around me started noticing that something was really wrong. And what I care about, I shared in the beginning, what people think of me. So I was like, and the people around me was telling me that I was an alcoholic. And like, for me, an alcoholic is not somebody with a really good job living in a posh area. It's not me. I've got stuff. So I didn't believe that I was an alcoholic. I didn't believe I was a drug addict. And people didn't really know about the drugs. I was kind of hiding that. And so what I did, this is where I started trying to control it. a little bit more, and all I was controlling was what people saw. So I used to take like holidays. I had money, so I would go on holiday away from everybody because everybody's on my case, and I'd go abroad on my own, and I'd just sit in the hotel room on my own, and I would drink and use without anybody bothering me in this beautiful place. I'd do a selfie on day one, put it on Facebook, everyone can see everything's looking great, and then I would sit there and I would use and I would drink. But what started happening on holidays was I collapsing, I'm suffering with dehydration, I'm starting to get hospitalised. So this started happening at home as well. As soon as I'm in my house, basically, like paramedics started coming to my house, and this is starting happening, and then I'm going into hospital, I'm having detoxes, and I'm like, fucking hell. So I couldn't really understand what was going on, but I thought I was depressed, I thought it was like my childhood, I thought it was their fault. So I was Googling, like, am I, like, because I was getting arrested and stuff, and the police were saying that it was like a different person coming in, I was like, am I bipolar? And I was doing all these quizzes online to find out what was wrong with me. And there was this one quiz, am I an alcoholic? And it was like, do you wake up in the morning and want to drink? And I was like, only on a Saturday and Sunday, sometimes Monday, but yeah. But like, and it was like, are you the last one at a party? And I was like, well, I used to be, but I don't go to parties anymore. I just have parties on my own, you know? And I didn't want to be an alcoholic. I didn't want to be a drug addict, but I wanted to be bipolar, or I wanted to be I'm schizophrenic. I don't care. I just don't want to be an addict. So I started going to the doctors for anxiety tablets, sleeping pills, you know, and but what started happening was I was having more and more hospital stuff. I was blacking out more. I was falling over, banging my head. And then fire engines started turning up. And I talked in the book about fire engine. But I used to black out and like put a pizza in my oven, black out, and I'd wake up this black smoke. And I was like, fucking hell, I was scared. It was all fire, you know, I'm like, whoa, there's all people in my house with masks on and that. And it's like the fire engines. I'm like, fucking hell. So what I decided to do, and honestly, this is where my mind was at then. I had a really good job, really good place, was, shit, something's really wrong. Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to stop cooking pizzas. I'm going to buy microwave pizzas. That's what I did. That's how mad I was. And I did. And when I moved house, I actually found a shriveled up microwave pizza. And I was like, see? It was a good idea. But so what happened the one day, so everyone around me, my works are giving me counselling by this point, and everybody's concerned for my mental health. I knew something was wrong, but I didn't know what, and I had no idea where to go. But I've always felt this way. You've got to remember that. I've always felt this way. And I thought I was the only person in the world who felt like this. So I didn't, and I thought I was weird. I was mad. Things started taking a turn for the weirdness. Like, I don't know if anyone sits on their own sniffing cocaine for days on end. It gets weird and weirder. So things were getting odd. And I'm like, I'm absolutely don't know what's going on. But the day came when the mental health team turned up. Somebody had called and they took me. And I'm in a mental health. So prior to that, I'd ripped up all my carpet in my house. I have no idea why. It could be bugs, it could be anything. It could be people hiding cameras under there. I don't know what was going on. But I ripped up all my carpet and I'd sorted out all my clothes, and all my holiday clothes were going to a charity shop. But in the meantime, I'd been sectioned and put into a mental health hospital. So I'm in there thinking people had paid them to take me in there. But basically, what happens when I pick up a drink or drug? I don't eat, I don't drink, I don't wash. All my basic needs goes out of the window. So first question they asked me is, do I know what day it is? And I didn't know what day it was, because I don't know if anybody goes on sprees, and you know, when you come around, you don't, and I kind of tried to explain to them, I go on these things, and you know, I don't know what day it is. So they were like, okay. And then they'd done some tests, and my muscles were wasting where I hadn't eaten, and they were like, when's the last time you ate? I was like, I have no idea. So I was in this mental health place. So they called my family and they asked them to bring some clothes in for me. So they've turned up at my house and all the carpet's ripped up and there's all these holiday clothes on a pile, and they've put them into a bag and brought them into me. And I'm walking around this mental hospital with flowy dresses on and like I'm on a beach, honestly. And the only thing that bothered me was how I was dressed in there. I was fuming. So that's the truth. I was fuming with my family. So I have no idea how long I was in there, but when I moved house, I'd done a relapse prevention course in there as well, I think. I had a certificate for it, but I can't remember that either. But I left there, but they basically said that when I leave there, I go to the drug and alcohol services. 3 times a week, I take anti-abuse, which is basically some tablets that if you drink, you get really, really unwell. And I have to take opiate blockers, because apparently I had an opiate addiction as well, which I didn't think I did. So I was going to the drug and alcohol services. I was sitting in the waiting room, and I saw signs for methadone, and I'm like, for fuck's sake. Like, I am not this person. But I did it because I was afraid I was going to lose my job. I was losing things. So I used to go to the drug and alcohol services 3 times a week. And I truly, truly believed I was choosing to do that. And I was like, I was choosing to go there and take that. So I can't be an alcoholic or a drug addict because I'm choosing to take these. So for 3 months, I didn't touch alcohol or opiates because I thought alcohol and men were my problem. But what I was doing, I was still sniffing cocaine, but my life was getting so much better. And I believed I had to, like, proper control over it. But something happened because I am a chronic alcoholic, you know, and something happened. I met a guy in work and I moved from one end of the UK to the other with this man I just met to get all that shit off my back. And they were controlling me and, you know. So I moved over the other side of the country and I moved in with this guy and I never told him anything. Nothing. He didn't know anything about my mental health, my alcoholism. And he liked a little drink and he liked a little sniff. And he was like, should we get some Coke? I had to wait 7 days for the anti-abuse to come out of my system. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. And I can remember feeling really excited. And within 6 months, I was black bagged. But I'll tell you what happened there. The first day, and this is where it baffles me. The first day, I was like, I'm going to be really careful with this. So we had some champagne and we had some cocaine. It was Friday night. And I thought, I'm not going to do it till next week because I can't let him see that I wake up in the morning and I need to... Once I use, I wake up in the morning or wake up whenever it is and I need to use again. I can't let him see that. I'm going to contain it. So I didn't use or drink until the following week, Friday. I was like, see? Then the following Friday, we got some Coke and we got some booze. And I was like, that's all right. He went to work Saturday morning. And I was like, while he's in work, what I'll do, I'll run to Lidl's. And I ran to Lidl's. I bought 3 bottles of wine. I thought, he'll never know. And then what I did, I poured them into a load of glasses, run down the park, put the 3 bottles of wine in the park, empty bottles, run back up. And I have no idea what happened, but he was in work for 12 hours. He came home and I was laying flat out. The kitchen was all burned. And I was laying on the bed flat out and he's like, have you had a drink? And I'm like, no. So what he said was, don't drink when I'm not here. I'm like, okay, that's what I'm going to do. So that was really, really hard. I used to go to the shop I was like, I'll cook a steak tonight. And I'd get like gin and I'd be hiding it under the seats of my car. And he used to have night nurse and I'd be cooking the steak, necking the night nurse, looking in the room. And he was like, this is easy. He won't notice. But I literally smashed his house up. We booked to go to Vegas together, and this is where my birthday was coming up, my 36th birthday. We booked to go to Vegas, and I planned to go to Vegas, and I was going to fly over the Grand Canyon in a helicopter. All my other holidays were sitting in a room on my own and ending up in hospital, but this one was going to be different. So, but he black bagged me anyway about 3 days before, so I just drove to the airport and thought, I'll just go and live in the airport for 3 days until I go. And but what happens is I have a drink, I'm in the airport, and I can't stop. And I carry on drinking, and I remember seeing the police. I remember fighting the police in the airport, and I remember waking up in a police cell again, and it was my 36th birthday, and they passed the phone in to me, and it was my sister, happy birthday. And I was like, I'm fucking done. I'm done. So I drove home, they breathalyzed me. In all fairness, this is the first time ever, they sent an alcohol nurse in to me, and I said, no, it's fine. I'll go back to Cardiff, and I'm going to take some anti-abuse, and I'm going to just do that, because that worked for me. So, but I left there. By the time, it was like a 2.5 hour journey. By the time I'd done the 2.5 hour journey, I was already driving to the dealers. I was driving. I was fucked. So by this point, my works were like, something's really wrong. So, like, as far as I was aware, I'm starting to lose things. My family had disowned me at this point because they're like, we can't cope with the worry. They're ringing missing persons. You know, this was been going on for years. So my family had kind of like disowned me, and my family are fucked. But they disowned me. They're dysfunctional. They're like, we can't even cope with the worry. My partner had blackbagged me, so I just had this job. But obviously, I couldn't stay sober to even work. I'm working on the railway, right? I can't even do that. But what I did, I drove to work, but I kind of diverted from work, went to the hotel, and I was living in the Hilton now, paid for by my works, and I was on a spree. And in all fairness, it was like one of my last sprees. And I vaguely, this is what I can remember, seeing the police on the phone to my boss, and they took my van keys off me, and I was like, no, I'm losing everything. Like, and in my head was, I'm losing everything. The family's gone, the boyfriend's gone, the job's gone. Fuck. What can I do to get it all back? Because that's all I cared about. I don't want to stop, but what can I do? So I Googled rehab near me, and I thought, I'll go and hide in rehab. And then I can pretend to everybody that I'm doing something. So, and that's my thinking pattern, right? So this number rings me up, and they was like, so I had a credit card, and it was like £7,700. It's a lot of money, but I was like, yeah, fuck it, I'm going to lose my job and everything. So they said, if I pay that now, they'll come and pick me up in 40 minutes. I was like, 40 minutes? I run down to the bar. I was like, fucking hell, 40 minutes, this is going to be the last time. Anyway, it turns up into this rehab, and they had the Serenity Prayer on the wall and the 12 steps, and I'm like, fuck, man, it's some like God bothering. But I actually, do you know what? There was so much shit going on the outside. I thought, I'll just stay and hide in here, and then I'll come out in 28 days and go, I've done something now, everyone, off my back. But and it was full of heroin addicts, crackheads, people that were not like me. And I knocked on the door, and I said, excuse me, I think I'm in the wrong place. And they gave me the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, and they said, I suggest you start reading that. And I started reading it, and I was like, fuck off. I thought somebody had told them about me, and they had written the book to convince me that I was an alcoholic. Like, that's how, by that point, I was nuts. And I was like, this is mad. You know, like the jaywalker? I was like, fucking, like, it just resonated with me. Even Bill, I was like, whoa. The Jekyll and Hyde, I was like, this is so nuts. I couldn't believe it. So I was like, what do I need to do? And they were like, you need a power greater than yourself. And I'm like, what? So, but this is the moment for me that, because I still didn't believe I was an alcoholic or an addict. I really didn't. I'm sat in, like, history tells me different. Sat in it, and Cocaine Anonymous, so like we got to start, meetings are coming in. Cocaine Anonymous, H&I came in, and this lady, she started talking about heroin. I'm like, ugh. And then she started saying, when she starts, she does, something happens to her bodily differently, and something happens, and she doesn't know when she's going to stop. My ears pricked up, and I'm like, huh? And then she said, but when she's separated from drugs, she'll always make an excuse to go and use again, despite consequences. Her mind will trick. And she's talking about her thinking. And I was like, oh, you know? And then she's talking about a void inside, like a spiritual malady. And I'm like, oh. Like, and I was sitting in this rehab, and I was like, fuck, it makes total sense to me. Total sense. So I was like, okay, what do I need to do? So basically, I discovered I paid £7,700 for a big book. And they told me that I was fuming. I've still got that. And they told me that I need to come out, and I need to go to Cocaine Anonymous. I need to get a sponsor. And I was like, oh, it's easy. It's easy. I know what's wrong with me as well. That's it. So I left rehab, went to Cocaine Anonymous, and I went to a meeting. I started crying, and there was all men in there. And I was like, I need a sponsor. I need help. And they gave me a lady's number. And I was like, yeah, I'm not working the steps. I know what's wrong with me. I just won't pick up. So I came out. I had my job back. Like, everything was okay. Everything was fine. I went to a pub. Guess what? Didn't drink. Left that pub and thought, I went to a pub. I didn't even drink. I'm all right. 12 days I lasted on self-knowledge. Now, I didn't know. It tells me all this in the book, right? So I am textbook. So I picked up again. Then I went back into a meeting. No, actually, I Googled rehab near me again. And they said to me, did you not go to CA? And I was like, yeah. They said, well, ring someone in there. And I was like, oh, fuck's sake, I have to call that lady. So I called that lady. By this point, I'd written a suicide note. And I was like calling, I was like, I'm done. So she was like, yeah, just come to a meeting. So I was like, fuck, like, is there no like QR? She was like, no, just come to a meeting. Came to a meeting. And basically I got a sponsor. And I went to this lady's house once a week and we started reading the book. And I didn't really understand what was going on. She told me to take some ladies' numbers, get some service. I was greeter at the meeting and I hug people. I absolutely hate hugging people. I was like a corpse. I was all stiff and that. So, but I came and it was the first time in my life that I never felt alone. And I heard people sharing and I felt like I belonged somewhere for the first time in my life. And I felt... But it's been a journey. I didn't get clean straight away, I'm not going to lie. I didn't get clean straight away. My life got considerably better straight away, but I was incapable of being honest, completely honest. I didn't want to tell my sponsor, I've done some disgusting stuff, yeah, real vile stuff. Didn't want to tell my sponsor because I thought she wouldn't like me. So I kept that stuff to myself on my step 4. But I had 6 months of clean time in Cocaine Anonymous, and then I picked up. But what I was already in, and it's the safest place I can be relapsing, is in the fellowship, because I've got somewhere I can go. You guys are not going to section me. You know what I suffer with. You know what I need. So after 6 months, I was reading more about alcoholism, drunk out of my head, and I was like, maybe I am. Maybe I am. And I thought, I'm just going to do everything that I'm told, and I'm just going to see what happens, because I can't live like this. So I had my step 1 experience, I believe, in Cocaine Anonymous, which is probably the safest place to have it, but all the years tell me that. I went through, I did my step 3 prayer, I did my step 4, and I put everything on it, everything. And I'm a bit of a creature, yeah, and I thought, it doesn't matter, I'm going to die anyway, so at least if I die with her not liking me, it doesn't matter. But what I'm trying is not working. And then when I shared it with my sponsor, it was nothing. It was all big in my head. It's all made up shit in my head. But I was given a list of defects, and I'll be really honest, I left there thinking she was jealous of me. It's what? I'm like, yeah, I was quite surprised, believe it or not. I'm not now, I know, but it took me about a year to thaw out. But I continued to work the programme, and I went out and made amends. I created a lot of harm. I've got no children, but I've got a lot of stuff that I've stolen from. I'm a thief, I'm a liar, I'm a cheat. So I went out and I made my amends, and that went against everything I believe in. I went into shops. I did, trying to make everything right, because I knew at that point I'm going to die. And I'm just going to try this, and when it don't work, I'm going to tell everyone it don't work, and that's what I thought. And here I am. And then my step 10, I found it really hard to, my defects were always coming up. And I found it really hard to apologise. It usually took me about 3-4 days for me to get over myself and make it right. Step 11, by that point, I was praying. I was praying every day. And I remember when I was 30 days and I was crying in my room and I was praying. I was kind of all I had was prayer and some ladies' phone numbers. But it got me through, But by the time I got to 11, I was meditating. I was able to sit and, and be. And then my step 12, we read through working with others. And I remember, my sponsor told me to underline it, but I remember this when I realised the obsession had been removed. Was I saw somebody who'd done something really bad to me, and I wanted to run him over. And I didn't, and I felt high emotion, and I would have used on that. And what I did is I called my sponsor. She didn't answer. I was fuming. Called some ladies. They didn't answer. I prayed. I thought, she asked me to highlight that book. Highlighted it. She called me back later on, and I explained what had happened. And I realised the obsession had been removed. I hadn't been through the work, and the obsession, it had been removed. And I was like, shit. And it told me in step 12 that working with others guarantees me immunity. I'm really selfish. So if it's something I get from it, I'm definitely going to do that. So I straight away, I put my hand up for sponsorship, and I started working with others. And and I stayed. And I was told to get service. I got service outside of my home group from the beginning. I was in a part of a fundraising committee. Someone had to watch me take the money, and I was going, I earn more than you lot put together. Why have someone got to watch me take the money? Because I didn't have the clean time. But, I stayed in spite of myself. And it's been a journey, Loads of stuff has happened in my recovery. I've had relationship problems. I got trauma, so I've got attachment issues. But my sponsor takes me to the book and he says, put your thoughts to others. So I ask God for sponsees. He sends me 7. That's how bad my sex problems are, 7. But, and I've stayed and I work with ladies. I do service. This is the first time in my recovery since June, because my service posts have run out, that I have no service outside of my home group, But I'm an active member of the fellowship. I carry the message, and I'm as honest as I can be with my sponsor. So I have everything on the outside. I still have the same. I have the same family. I have the same job. I have all the same stuff. But something has happened inside me. Something really has, and I have no idea what it is. But a personality change. I look at the world differently. I'm no longer a victim. I have a purpose. I help others. Yeah, and this fellowship has changed my life. And sometimes I want to leave it. I'll be really honest. I want to sack my sponsor, leave the fellowship when I'm in a mood because people are not doing what I want them to do. But I don't, because I have nowhere else to go, is the truth. And also, I love being part of Cocaine Anonymous, and it has saved my life. Like I shared at the beginning, I'm here today. I'm 43 years of age, here, standing here alive because of this fellowship. So I have no doubt. I still think I'm an addict sometimes. Go on holiday now, I see places, I don't see the hotel room. I walk along the beach and my head goes, you've done 6 years without a drink, you're on all-inclusive holiday. Maybe you're not. And I'm like, nah. I have a power greater than myself today that has restored me to sanity, and I stay because I know those thoughts will still be there, but they're not an obsession. But yeah, I'm going to leave it there because I think I've come to time. But thank you for listening.